then I would like now to go to our next two presenters, which is Mark Terbeek. He's working for the organization Click F1, and he is at the organization. He's a project coordinator for the Mediawise project. And Mark Leefstra, he works in the youth institution in the prison Lelystad. And he's a teacher and ICT manager, and ICT manager for the Mediawise system in the prison. So, and they will tell us about a digital secure platform, which the name is Mediawise, I mentioned already, that helps to train juveniles in digital skills. And since 2 years, they have built experience with this platform in the Lelystad institution. Mark, I think you start. Can I give you the floor?
Yeah, thank you. I'll share my presentation now. So let's see how this works. So I think you all see the presentation now as it is. I hope you can hear me loud and clearly.
Yes, we can see and hear you. And
great, perfect. Well, what I'm gonna do first is introduce myself and introduce Click F1, Click F1, what kind of organization it is and what I do there. And then we go narrow it down till we are at Mediawise. I thought when I just start out of nothing with Mediawise, it might be a little vague. So, well, what we do as Click F1 is we develop and apply educational programs and concepts for social organizations and educational institutions that are committed to the well-being, development, and education of children and young people. This might be a broad mission, and Click F1 started also really broadly 17 years ago. So, yeah, an old organization, but we made it new every time. And it started really broad with sport, with projects, with making podcasts, making radio, making media, in all different branches, not only in juvenile and detention centers, but also just in the neighborhoods, in different places in the Netherlands. And along the way, we narrowed down more and more into media and digital topics. And now this day, yeah, it is more or less only with media and digital topics. And those digital topics we do is not only in detention center, but we also run projects in primary and secondary education for both pupils and teachers. We have different lessons, different modules, and different methodology where we try to learn how you can use media and digital tools inside school. We see that the Dutch government is trying to integrate media and digital skills, 21st century skills as they call it, try to blend it inside the education system. We are living in a world where digital convenience and digital tools are not, well, not ruling it, but they have a big place in it. And of course, the newer generation need to get used to it and how to use it in a safe way. So we create lessons for this topic, but the teachers also need to be taught in this kind of way of giving lessons in it. And since 7 years, we are inside juvenile detention centers in the Netherlands. We give different workshops to increase those 21st century skills of the detainees. And we build and we support the secured environment called Mediawise, which I'm going to explain later on. Those different workshops that we do are always creative workshops to create the feeling that the juveniles can learn, to be self-secure, to know that they can learn new things, new tools when they are inside for a longer time and go outside and need to do everything online, your bank account, your insurance, your utilities for housing, your gas, your water, light, electricity, everything needs to be fixed online. But if you stayed inside for a long time and don't know how to work with digital environments, it can be a really big bump and scare you away of fixing those things. So with creative workshops, like working with green screen, filming, making animations, stop motion, but also designing different things like big posters, like motivational posters. So all different kind of digital workshops where the product isn't the most important thing, but the process is the most important thing. We try to make them self-secure about themselves, that they are capable of working with those things, even when they didn't work with them at all. So I think that's the most important thing of those workshops. And since 5 years, we also work in European projects. First, we did Real Life, which was the start of an online platform on learning and education. And now we creating Bleep, which is a website and a tool to guide you into reintegration. So through the gates, you start with the tool and the app inside. You start working out how to create different steps and how to follow different steps in terms of getting a house, getting work, well, all those kind of themes. Step by step, you're going through those things then that are we building now. Well, back to Mediawise. Mediawise is a digital secured platform and a complementary learning environment that support educational and leisure programs in juvenile detention center. And it consists out of 4 different ingredients. So first of all, we train the professionals in working with Mediawise, because we figured out that you can put a program inside, or software program inside a detention center, but it's very, very important. I think it's crucial that the professionals know how to work with it. The professionals need to tell the juveniles, the teenagers, that they can use those programs and they will use those programs. And when the professionals don't know anything about it, the computer will just stay there in the corner and will never be triggered to, oh, if you want to know that, if you need to know that, if you want to learn a little bit more about this topics, go to the computer, check it on Mediawise. You need to be triggered to use it. So we train the professionals, and we train them not only to tell the children, the teenagers, to use it, but we also try to create something with the professionals that the professionals can use it to make their own work easier. For an example, we create templates of sheets you need to fill in if you want to go on furlough, or if you need to reflect or evaluate your furlough. How did it went? How did it go? All those things we can make digital. And in this case, the professional don't need to print something, sit next to a youngster, fill it in. So we really try to create the image that the professional also can use Mediawise to make her or his work more efficient. Then we give the creative workshops for the youngsters to develop those 21st century skills, which I already explained. And then we have the secured online environment and the tailor-made Chromebooks. So training of the professionals, creative workshops to let the youngsters know they are capable of learning new things, to be more self-secure in terms of working with digital environments. But of course, the digital environments it's bigger than this, because it's your own personal life. It's standing on your own feet when you're outside. The secured online environment. So what is it? What's on it? It is, you can say it's a website, but inside detention, in the Netherlands, they don't have free access to internet, because on the internet there are very much ways to communicate outside, to find different information that won't be helpful to their reintegration process, things that make beautiful things out of, let's say, weapons, aggressive things, well, all different things that might not be most convenient to show them at that specific time. But if there is no accessible way to go to the internet, is blocking the correct way, blocking it out? Well, we think not, and that's why we created Mediawise. So we create an environment where internet is as safe as possible. And we create this website with more than 1,000 articles, with information of relevant themes like work, school, lifestyle, and health. But of course, also entertainment, movies, music, and all without communication, and all safe topics. And we are trying with a redaction team to write them in the language that is easy accessible for the target group. 80% of the content is nationwide. We create the content, or we filter out all the content that we think this might be relevant for the target group. And 20% is local. So the institution where Mediawise is used, and those institutions are at the moment every youth prison in the Netherlands, and every prison has their own little part of the website. So all the different prisons have their own website. It is more or less the same website for 80%, but 20% is custom made. So the institution can, let's say, put their own schedules on it, can put their own menus, what are they going to eat. So, or maybe there was a soccer tournament. Well, there is a space where you can create your own custom content, and 80% of the content is nationwide. Then there are articles to relevant websites. We also try to filter those big ocean of information to what's relevant. So which information is safe, which information is relevant, and we make articles of them in the language that is easy accessible for the target group. But we also just can connect the websites to the youngsters. And there are various other functions on the website. You can create your own newspaper. You can create forms to be filled in, just like I said, with the furlough and the evaluation of it. And there are options to make polls, so the youngsters can vote for their favorite meal or vote for their favorite sport, what they can do next week. Okay, well, now you might think, okay, you create things, but how does it work? In detention, you have a secured environment. How can you get those websites working? And for this, to explain, there's a list of things that needs to be done before we can use this website. So first of all, the website is protected by an IP address, a technical thing, but every internet has their own address, and we need to have that IP address so we can put it into our system. And then this website, Mediawise, for your organization, for your institute, is only accessible for this IP address. It's the first thing. The second thing, the website can only be opened with an active account. And we create an account, and there are different accounts with different roles on it. The first account is only a guest, so you can only look at the site. The second account is that you can create messages, not messages between the youngsters, but you can ask us about, oh, I really find this topic interesting, but there's still nothing on it on the website. Can you please put some information about this on the website? So you can, well, it's not contact, but you can send messages to us. Another option, that's the third option, is for the supervisors, so they can supervise the youngsters in their group, and they can send messages and get messages back from us. So in all different accounts are all different rights, as we can say. And you can just tailor-made everything. So for this person, it can be the option to create messages, but for this person, he only needs to watch at the site. So at this point, we can just create exactly to wish on who can look on what specific part of the website. Then there's something important to know about the security. I explained that there's a big database of information, and then I explained you need an account. But then there's a third thing, and that's which sites are accessible and which sites are not. And then we work with whitelists, and you have whitelists and there are blacklists. And if you use a blacklist, every website is blocked except the websites you put on a blacklist. Everything is open, but what you put on the blacklist, those sites are blocked. We use a whitelist, which means everything is blocked, but what we put on the whitelist, you can access it. But we don't have one whitelist, but we have 3 different whitelists, and those are ranged in, can you use it on your own, so everything is safe, and those whitelists are used in the living groups, so no supervision is needed if you use those whitelists. Then there's a second whitelist, and this is the whitelist that we call education. For this whitelist, a lot of e-learning, school platforms, all kind of those things are accessible because, of course, you need to use them. But the thing is, when you have option to log in into your e-learning, and you can fill in information, someone else outside can log in on your account, and then you have some kind of connection to the outside world, which we don't want to provide. So in the second whitelist, if you are in this whitelist, in the second in educational whitelist, you need some supervision. So those whitelists are only accessible maybe in a classroom. And then there's a third whitelist, and that's life and care. And life and care is for the juveniles who are almost at the end of their sentence, and they can or they need to arrange already stuff like housing, life insurance, all those things. And this is a whitelist, very, very broad, but you need to have close supervision. So it can be the case that you arrange something that you didn't need to arrange or make some mistakes in it. So 3 different whitelists with no supervision, medium supervision, to close supervision. And those whitelists can be connected to three different things. We have the accounts, and on the accounts, it can be connected to a whitelist. So for example, you always need to log in, and I log in with my name, and my name is connected to only the whitelist living group. But when I am in my classroom, the teacher can log in with his account, for example, or with a classroom account. And so the next whitelist can be accessible. So those whitelists are linked to different accounts, but they're also linked to different Chromebooks. And what a Chromebook is, maybe some of you already know it, maybe some don't, but a Chromebook is a small laptop and it's from Google. And in some juvenile detention centers, we already use them, and in others, we don't use them. In others, Mediawise is just a website, and it can be used in their own system, in their own digital environment. But in other situations, like in Lelystad, we use the Chromebooks, and the Chromebooks are the small laptops, and we completely tailor-made those Chromebooks. We tailor-made which accounts are accessible, which whitelists are accessible. So it's completely safe to use them everywhere. Some Chromebooks can only log in into educational accounts. Some Chromebooks can only log in into living groups accounts. And those Chromebooks can be just given out freely in their own living group. Other Chromebooks, which are accessible for all the whitelists, need to be always in care of a group leader or of a supervisor. So in this case, there are three different whitelists, and they all have a specific reason to use. And so for every situation, we have a different whitelist for the most education, for the most use, for the most contact with the outside digital world. And this is the system that we use right now. Mark Kleefstra is from JAE Lelystad, and we ask him to join right now. I think it's nice if you've got any questions for me on how to use it, and we can ask questions to Mark on how he uses it, because I can explain how we made it and how we use it, but I think it's very nice if he can explain how it's used in the detention center and what his experience is with it. So
thank you, Max. Yeah, I think we will do the questions at the end. So if I can give the floor to Mark now. Mark, are you there? I can see he is there, but I can't hear him. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clearly.
To start your video, I don't have a video.
That's no problem.
Yeah. Well, we use the Chromebooks and Mediawise in our school in the juvenile prison in Lelystad. We have provided extra content, like Max said, 20% of the content is local. We provided content to be an aid to for the pupils to learn. And yeah, if there are questions, I can probably give the answer.
Okay, well, thank you. Very interesting to hear about what you do with digital media. I think it's a challenge in every prison to make that in a very secure way. And also sometimes to convince people that it's actually secure enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's clear that our life is digital, and now here today we are struggling with Zoom, and we manage. But the next generation that we are talking about here, they are even much more inclined to use digital tools. And as you say, you can't make any arrangements anymore with also public authorities if you are not able to use a computer.
Yeah.
How is the interest? How can you, Mark? You keep turning around.
Sorry, it's my phone.
How's the interest in your prison among youngsters to work with Mediawise?
It differs. We have two groups of pupils, long-term and short-term sentenced juveniles. The short terms are mostly directed to only listen to music. And they also come with lots of requests for music. Happily, the Click F1 team is behind it and making sure that the music that comes to Mediawise is secured. So no drill rap, no weapons, and no explicit videos. And the long-term sentenced juveniles are also eager to use it for learning and to for the what Max told about for the leave passes, etc. But also for making arrangements at the end of their term for going outside and making arrangements with communities of municipalities for finding houses, work, etc. So it differs.
Yeah, I can imagine it's also very good that they can do that themselves, you know, that they take responsibility for making those arrangements.
That's part of the 21st century skills Max told about, to make them more aware of their self-secureness in digital citizenships.
Yes.
Citizenship.
I have a question here. Is it also possible to use the platform for language courses?
Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah. What we do in those cases is, we can check which language courses we want to use, and then we check if they're completely safe. This sometimes is a harder thing because there are not so many language courses that are made to be used in a detention center. So for very much courses, there's some kind of communication window or communication system just to learn the language easier. But those are the small things that we really don't want to use. So what we do, and what's a big part of working with Mediawise, is checking those sites, checking what part is safe, what part is not. Can we create an account that is just small enough to learn the language with, but not big enough to use the communication? So it's not really a yes or a no answer. We are trying to create as much content as possible, to use as many convenient courses as possible. But sometimes it's very hard to find things safe enough to use in detention. And with safe, I mean most of the time, no communication to the outside world.
Yeah, and of course it's very important to have it safe, because as soon as there would be a breach, then you have a large setback in whatever you can do.
Yeah, we are better safe than sorry.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There's another question. How many Chromebooks do you have in detention center, and how often do the juveniles have access to it?
In our detention center, there are at the moment 32 Chromebooks in the school, but there are also about 50 on the groups, the living groups, as we call them. The 32 are almost freely accessible, but they don't use it, for example, in phys ed, and not in lessons like welding. They don't use it, so it's mostly given back to those classes where they are more theoretical educated. And there are, like I said, there are 32 Chromebooks, but there's always, not always, but often there is one or two that need repair or has to be sent elsewhere for repairs, because they always try to find that back door to get out of the secured environment, and sometimes that makes the Chromebook unusable.
Yeah. And compared to the number of juveniles in your institution?
Oh yeah, sorry. We have 87 juveniles at the moment, of which 60 often visit the school, and 30 of them, 25 till 30, are at the end of their school career at our place, and they do visit schools outside the prison, or they work outside the prison but have to return every night, and they do happily.
And I hope they will continue doing that. So
I hope so too, yes.
Yeah, so good luck further with your very interesting project, and I hope it will stay safe and you will be able to extend it further, because it really sounds interesting, and I think it really lives up to what young people need and want. Yeah. So thank you very much for your presentation, and I will continue now to the closing of our workshop.
Thank you.
Because with this presentation, we have come to the end of our online workshop on juveniles and young adult offenders in prison and probation. And also working online is not our preferred method on the long run, of course, but I think we have seen it still offers a good opportunity to share knowledge and experiences, and even to have some online discussions. And it was also good to see that we could reach out to such a large crowd of interested participants with different professional backgrounds and from different areas in Europe and beyond. So over these 2.5 days, we have covered a number of very interesting issues, from European and international standard setting to very interesting pilots in the Netherlands that we look forward to see implemented further. We have seen the advantages of a switch to small-scale facilities and applying a unique and tailor-made approach, and also giving responsibilities to these young people. We heard about research and victim and offender mediation in Greece. We heard about today the importance of understanding the challenges that prisoners have with ADHD and ASD. Also what it means that young adult brains are not yet or are less developed than adult brains. And of course, in our last two presentations, the importance of starting education in prison and also enabling its continuation outside. And as this last one on the digital skills to inmates, a very interesting example for the young generation. So on behalf of CEP and Europris, I would like, in the first place, all the speakers for their excellent presentation and for sharing their experiences yesterday and today. And I would like to give a special thanks also, I don't know if she's still here, but to Magdalena, for being so open today and sharing her story. And I think what we learned from her is, again, how important it is to listen to the voice of these young people, to actually talk to them, to pay attention to their feelings and their needs. And I would like to wish her, like many participants already did, good luck with her studies and in her future life. And of course, I would like to thank all of you for participating and for your engagement in the Q&A sessions. If we have not been able to answer to all your questions, then just let us know. If you want to get in contact with any of the speakers, we can help you with arranging that. There were a number of questions about the presentations. Those presenters who have agreed to it, for them the presentations will be placed on our website. And for those who would not like to share it publicly, we will send them just to the participants. So you will receive, will have access to all the presentations, and that will be similar for the recordings. What we will do once we have all the presentations and recordings, we will send you an email so you know you can find it on the websites of Europress and CEP. So this brings me to the end of 2 interesting half days. Thank you again, and I wish you a very nice and relaxing Christmas time. And most of all, stay happy and healthy. And I hope to see you at another occasion personally. Goodbye.